My name's Philip, and I've been a guide with Get Set Up for a couple of years. Appreciate you joining us today. And I give a lot of sessions in finance, understanding credit scores, and a lot of other things in the sort of financial arena, including some insurance, whether it's Medicare or other things. But today I have an exciting new thing to talk about, and it's called Helen AI. So this is a companion to the actual sessions that we give with Get Set Up, and it helps you explore some more in regards to your own thoughts and concepts that you want to have and maybe learn a little bit more from some of the classes you have. So what I'd like to do is show you Helen AI. And so basically, as you can see, you can type in any question you want here. It also has some pre-thought out questions, and Helen AI is as a target audience for Get Set Up is really customized for those of us 50 and over. So I just like to show a few features and options within Helen AI. You should, when you sign in to Get Set Up now, you should go right to it. But if you don't, it's this tab right here that I have clicked on. So it brings me right to Helen AI. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about maybe credit scores and credit freezes. So let's start off by asking a question. Is a credit freeze a good tool to use? And then I will hit the little arrow over here at the far right, or I can just hit enter on my computer screen. And Helen is thinking about my question. You see, it comes up fairly quickly. So it talks about, tells me a little bit of Helen is the credit freeze can be a very effective tool protecting against identity theft. It tells you do want to think about a few things. How prevents new accounts from being opened up on your personal information. So if you ever have some concerns about identity theft, something to consider. So it gives me a nice little summary of it. And then it gives some automatic follow-up questions. So how does a credit freeze compare to other identity theft protections? Are there safer ways to guard against identity theft? How can monitoring services commitment to a credit freeze? So these are, if I want some follow-up questions, is giving me a couple here. If I want to follow any of these, I can just click on here and do that. So let's just do a follow-up question on our own. How do I start a credit freeze? Nice, hit enter this time, or you can hit that star button. And again, Helen's quickly thinking, and then she tells me what it is I need to do to start that credit freeze. So you need to contact the credit bureaus. It tells me who the credit bureaus are. You're going to have to be prepared to provide some personal information. It tells me what to be ready for. You can request to freeze. And then it talks about you need to have a security PIN to get back in later, et cetera. So it gives me a clue of what I'm going to need to do, what I need to prepare for. So it's really good. Make sure I have my social security number available, et cetera. And then off to the right, there are some related classes. So as you can see here, they're talking about some tax scams, again, relating to why would you put a freeze on because maybe you have a scam. So it gives some additional classes that you might want to consider from Helen. So let's go to another area and let's talk a little bit about credit score, credit freeze and credit score. So maybe a good question is, how is your credit score calculated? So let's ask Helen how our credit score is calculated. Again, I hit enter, and Helen is going to tell me some things. And it does a nice job of telling me that there are 5 areas that are used to calculate your credit score. And it's telling me which ones, how much each of them weighs, the percentage of weight. So basically telling me the payment history is the most important one because it has a 35% weight, then 30% weight for another one, 15, 10, and 10%. So it gives me the 5 different areas of how a credit score is calculated, and they're weighted in percentages. Again, it gives me a little more information about it. And then again, some follow-up questions that it thinks might be appropriate. So besides these related classes that are here, the next one is also related articles. So you can also look in this area. And then it gives us some related articles that are right there. You can click right onto these articles in regards to if you have any of these questions or any of these articles follow up to your question and you want to look at them specifically. So you have those additional opportunities there to look at that. So this hopefully gives you a good idea of how Helen works. So let's give another question that I get sometime. So you can see the follow-up questions here include those what steps help improve credit scores for seniors. But let's just say, how do you obtain your credit score? It's a common question that I get when I give some of these sessions. So how do I obtain my credit score? So let's see what Helen tells us about that. And again, you can be careful with your typing, but if you just have a spelling, one letter off spelling, Helen usually figures out what it is. It can usually figure out the word. So here it goes into detail. This is like I said earlier, a common question that I get. So you can visit annualcreditreport.com. And from there, it's the official website where you can get a free credit report from each of the 3 credit bureaus. And this is indeed a critical thing. If you go to this particular site, and make sure that you are going to an official website to get your credit scores. And talks about how many banks and credit card companies now will give you your credit score if you ask for it, if you're online with them. You can also use credit monitoring services. So it gives me a good detail of things that I can do to view to get my credit score. So again, a nice summary of details. And again, it's a good conjunction in regards to a class about credit reports and credit scores. So again, some of the powerful things that Helen can do. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. Look forward to having you expand your use of Helen AI and understand it. There's some other clips with showing some other things on how Helen AI works. But basically, you can ask any topic. You can ask about restaurants. If you're going to go on vacation, maybe ask for certain types of restaurants in a certain city that you're traveling in. You can look a lot of things related to travel. If you want anything with languages, if you want to know about architecture, all kinds of things. Helen is not isolated to one particular topic. She can talk about just about anything that you have interest in. So I encourage you to explore Helen and put it in conjunction with some other Get Set Up classes that you take in the near future and articles that you can find on Get Set Up. So I appreciate it. Hope to see you in a session, and good luck with